You explain so well, but 80,000 is too much. If you coach people rather than businesses, you've heard that sentence in your own language, in a voice note, probably more times than you'd like to count. And you did what everyone does. You went away and worked on the objection, better script, better proof, a payment plan. Here's what actually happened on that call and why the same woman paid a different coach 1.2 lakhs a few weeks later without blinking. It has almost nothing to do with your program. I'll show you. She heard hesitation. That's the whole story. Let me play back the moment because I've heard the recording of this call 100 times in 100 businesses. You said the number and then you kept talking because silence felt dangerous. So you filled it. You explained what's included again. You mentioned the WhatsApp support. You offered a payment plan nobody had asked for. And your voice went up at the end like a question, like you were asking permission for your own price. She didn't hear a price. She heard a person who wasn't sure. And here's the thing about buyers, especially buyers in personal transformation, they are not evaluating your curriculum. They cannot evaluate your curriculum. They've never done your program. So they evaluate the only thing available to them, you. How you hold the number. People don't pay for your program. They pay for your certainty. And now the part that actually matters, the part that took me years to see. Certainty is not a personality trait. You can't affirmation your way into it. You can't fix it with a power pose before the call. Certainty is a supply condition. It comes from what's standing behind you when you say the number. One of our coaches had exactly this. 2 calls a week. Sit with what 2 calls a week actually means. Mechanically, it means every single call carried her rent. It means Tuesday's conversation had to work because Thursday's was the only other one, and after that, the week was over. And when a conversation has to work, the person on the other end feels it every time. They can't name it. They'd never say, I sense your calendar is empty. They just get a vague feeling that the price is negotiable and they respond to that feeling by negotiating. That's not intuition, it's information. You leaked it. In the pause before you said the number, in how fast you moved to the payment plan, in the fact that you were still available on Friday. So she kept meeting the same objection over and over with different faces attached to it, not because her program was overpriced. Her program was, if anything, cheap for what it did because her calendar was underfilled. She was solving a supply problem with sales scripts. That's why nothing worked. Right effort, wrong department. So we built her engine. 14 days to build, video that sells first, form that confirms budget in writing, follow up that doesn't sleep, calendar she never touches. By day 20, she had 6 calls behind every conversation. Now, watch what changed because this is the important part. Same program, same modules, same delivery, same woman, higher price, and the same avatar who said 80,000 was too much paid 1.2 lakhs. Nothing about her coaching changed in 20 days. Nobody becomes a fundamentally better coach in 20 days. The only thing that changed was what stood behind her when she said the number. When there are 6 more conversations this week, the sentence 80,000 comes out completely differently. Flat, final, slightly bored even. And a bored price is an expensive price. Buyers read boredom as scarcity of your attention and they respond to it the way humans always respond to scarcity. If your price keeps folding at the end of calls, the link is below. 30 minutes, your numbers. This is the part people miss. So let me be precise about the mechanism. A full calendar isn't just revenue. It's the tone of voice that closes high ticket deals. Here's what specifically changes, and none of it requires you to learn anything. You stop rescuing the silence, you say the number and let it sit there. The silence stops being a threat and starts being a tool, because whoever speaks first is the one who needed it more, and it's no longer you. You stop discounting preemptively. Nobody asked for 20% off. You were offering it to protect yourself from a rejection that hadn't happened yet. You end calls on time because another one is at 4 o'clock. You are no longer available for a 90-minute free consultation disguised as a discovery call. And you start saying no to the client with the red flags in the first 10 minutes. The one you'd have taken last year and regretted by week 3. Prospects read all of that as authority. They are not wrong. It is authority. It just didn't come from a mindset shift. It came from supply. Your posture followed your pipeline. It always does. That's the direction the causation runs. And everybody has it backwards, which is why work on your confidence is such useless advice for a coach with 2 calls a week. You cannot feel abundant on a schedule that is objectively scarce. Your nervous system isn't stupid. Fix the calendar, and the confidence arrives on its own, uninvited, about 10 days in. Now, let me be honest about the limits, because I'd rather you didn't buy this than buy it wrong. This does not fix an offer that doesn't work. If people finish your program and quietly don't get the result, more calls will just distribute that disappointment faster. The engine multiplies what exists, it cannot invent what doesn't. So this is for coaches whose offer already sells. You've closed it at your real price more than once, and the people who go through it come out the other side genuinely better. If that's true, then your problem is arithmetic, not ability. And arithmetic is the easy kind of problem. If it isn't true, I'll tell you that on the call, and I won't take your money. That happens more often than you'd expect, and it costs me nothing to be straight about it. And there's a second mechanism here that I want to name because it's doing more work than people realize. The video sells before you ever open your mouth, which means the price conversation has already happened. By the time she's on your calendar, she has heard your method, seen roughly what this costs, and typed a budget answer into a form with her own hands. So the moment you dread, the pause after the number, has already been survived without you in the room. She flinched at her kitchen table on a Tuesday night, or she didn't, and either way, it's finished. The people who reach you are the ones who didn't flinch. That's why the tone changes so fast. You're not defending a price to a stranger anymore. You're confirming a decision with someone who already made most of it. 2 calls a week means every conversation starts from zero, with you as the only sales asset in the business. 6 calls behind the next one means the selling happened days ago at scale while you were delivering. That is the difference between performing certainty and having it. 2 things you can do this week regardless. First, stop offering the payment plan before it's requested. Say the number, then stop. Count to 5 in your head if you have to. Almost nobody does this, and it changes calls immediately. Second, go and count your actual qualified conversations from last month. Not leads, not direct messages, conversations with someone who could pay and knew the price. If that number is under 10, you don't have a pricing problem or a confidence problem. You have a supply problem wearing their clothes. If I could only change one thing in a coaching business, it wouldn't be the pricing page or the sales script. It would be how many conversations exist in a week, because almost every problem you've named to yourself this year is downstream of that one number. The discounting is downstream of it. The rushed calls are downstream of it. The client you should have refused is downstream of it. Even the tiredness is. Carrying a whole month on 2 conversations is exhausting in a way that 30 conversations somehow isn't. Fix the supply and you'll be amazed how many separate problems turn out to have been one problem. So here's where I'd leave it. If you've been told 80,000 is too much while privately knowing your work is worth more than that, the fix is not a better script. It isn't a new objection handling framework. It isn't waiting until you feel ready. It's 6 calls standing behind the next one. Same program, same price, different voice because the room behind you changed. highticketengine.com. 30 minutes, your real numbers, and honest answer. Stop rehearsing the number, fill the calendar, and the number says itself.